Hello there, and welcome to Talking Nerdy, the show where we take various story arcs and events from current comics and we cover them. I'm your host, Obi-Wan Jabroni. Now, on today's show, we will be covering Spawn number 323 through 326, written by Todd McFarlane, with art by Carlo Barberi and colors by J. David Ramos. A blackout encompasses a small town in Montrose after Spawn's battle with a vampire. But now the vampire clan is lurking in the shadows, ready to strike its revenge towards Spawn. And with that, let's start talking nerdy. First up, we have Spawn number 323. And we open in a cabin in Montrose. And we see a vampire clan land in front of the cabin. And the leader, Rebirth, enters and yells for Spawn to come out. He knows he's here. Spawn walks out of the shadows with a gun pointed at Rebirth, and Rebirth says he wants to team up and survive our enemy. And Spawn says, just who are our enemies? Rebirth sits down in a nearby chair and says, they're trying to isolate you, pushing you from possible allies. Heaven and hell like it when we're out on our own. That's better for them during their constant power grabs. You seem to want to play into their hands. I'm here to offer a better option. Be skeptical, that's fine. Just hear me out. I believe there's an alliance to be had between us, and you're not comfortable later on. It doesn't have to stay permanent, but if you see a growing resistance at the very least, you have a chance to change their tactics. And that's when they become susceptible. You see, I'm getting tired of their bullshit because both think I'm loyal to the other side. Heaven doesn't quite trust my group's bloodline being tied to hell. And hell has always been suspicious about the DNA we share with humans. That makes us distrusted and outcast on both sides. We're essentially living our own purgatory. And that doesn't even mention the infighting among our vampire factions. Just ask your friend Blood what he thinks of us. And Spawn says he's not interested. Thought that'd be your attitude, but you can't hide from your vampiric genes. You've been a piece of every hellspawn. They've been a piece of every hellspawn. What that kind of makes us brothers. But make no mistake, I'm the bigger brother here. You're still weak, Spawn, so stop pretending. I get how you could take out one of their low-level agents. That's not us. We've been taking advantage of the current situation you created. My army thanks you. Not only did you knock the electricity out, but inadvertently blocked away power sources from penetrating. Cell phones, generators, battery packs, the internet, it's all useless right now. So imagine how we capitalized on the opportunity having the cover of dark for days. It's been a feast. Everywhere humans went, we were waiting. Sadly, a bunch didn't survive. That will draw attention. Fortunately, it'll take a while for the news. Take a while. News isn't traveling quite as fast as usual. The outsiders keep having to learn that lesson, though. So I'll ask again. Can I count on you? And Spawn says he will never trust his kind, and Rebirth waves his hand, and Spawn falls to the ground, struggling to breathe. Rebirth walks up to him and shoves a piece of wood into his chest and says, if you think I'm taking pleasure in this discussion, I'm not. It's what we need each other. My boss has been paying attention. He's aware you've sealed all the dead stones on the globe, which will bring the wrath of every one of your enemies who want to leave Earth. You can't defeat all of them, maybe for a while, but not forever. Eventually, you'll make a mistake, or they'll catch you off guard. Then what you return back to hell with your tail between your legs? You don't want that. So think about it in practical terms. We can help give you protection. Suddenly. Oh, I am sorry, I lost my spot. Spawn says he will never trust. Oh, I'm sorry. Suddenly, Spawn crackles with energy, and outside an army of zombies raise out of the ground, and he says, "I'm not the one that needs protection." Rebirth turns and sees his army surrounded, and while he's distracted, Spawn drives a fireplace poker through Rebirth's chest and kills him. He cuts off his head and walks outside, saying, "Tell your master, if he wants to negotiate, to come face me himself, not send one of his damn lapdogs. And tell him I'll do this to each and every one of you he sends if he ever sends my way again. Alone, that's how I'll meet your master. And whoever he is, tell the coward I can't wait for the introduction. Deliver that message now." And he throws the head down and melds into the shadows, returning to his hideout. And that ends this issue. Taking us to Spawn number 324. Now, we open on a battlefield, and Mark awakens in a field of dead demons and angels, and someone calls out his name. He turns to see Jim Downing approaching him. Jim says that they need to get out of here and talk immediately. And we switch to later in a diner. Jim and Mark sit and talking and catching up, and Jim learns about Mark now being the medieval Spawn, and Spawn kicking him out of the base. They stand, and Jim asks if Mark trusts Spawn, and Mark says he does. And as they walk outside, Jim says, "Then why haven't you told him about the helmet? Look, I'm sure Al means well, but we both know he's not exactly the most stable guy, and that's a problem. Because I don't know if he just doesn't realize it or just doesn't care. But either way, he's on the verge of bringing the whole damn world down around him. He's always talking about saving humanity, but he turned the planet into his personal war zone. He ripped a fucking hole in time, for fuck's sake. You think that he's ever stopped to think that maybe he's doing more harm than good? No. He just keeps charging forward, and half the time it's like he's trying to get himself killed. And if it were just his life at stake, I'd leave him at it. But this impacts all of us. So what I'm saying is that a time's gonna come when we all need to decide if it's in everyone's interest for Al to wield so much power at once. If the answer is no, I need to be able to count on you." And Mark says, dude, you want to stage a coup? If so, who's gonna take Al's power? You?" And Jim continues, "That's not what I'm saying. I just want to make sure our enemy's number one target isn't constantly putting himself at risk of being captured or killed." And Mark says that is exactly what him and She-Spawn are trying to do. But they are interrupted by a group of angels who charge down from the sky towards them. Jim tells Mark to put on his helmet, and he grabs Mark's shoulder and teleports him away from civilians. Mark transforms into medieval Spawn, and both him and Jim start to easily take out the angels together. Another wave starts to charge them, and Jim teleports them both to his hideout. Medieval gives Mark his body back, and Mark asks what happened, and if Medieval said anything useful. And Jim says, "No, I'm afraid not. Just disappeared once we got away. As for not being able to keep this up, you're smart enough to know that it's impossible. You need to brace yourself because until we win this war, forces are going to be coming for you every day, for the rest of your life. Like they did when I awoke the first time. Simmons didn't ask if I wanted to be involved. He just pulled us in because we were useful to him, props he can use in his war. So ask yourself, what would have happened if you'd been captured? If I hadn't been there, or you hadn't been able to get the helmet on in time? I need you to think long and hard about that, Mark, and I'll be in touch." And he walks away, leaving Mark alone, holding his helmet in the warehouse. Meanwhile, back at Spawn's base, Spawn sits going over all of his information on his computer when a voice behind him interrupts his concentration. He turns to see the Redeemer standing in the doorway. Spawn lashes out with his chains, but Redeemer brushes them away easily. Spawn stops and looks at him and asks how he did that. And the Redeemer removes his helmet and says, "Doesn't look good, does it? Hope you're grasping the severity of the situation we face. You should conserve your strength. We'll need it later, though. And if you can calm down for a second, I'll explain. Now, there's a lot we need to discuss." And that ends this issue. Leading us to spawn number 325. And we open in an unknown location. And we see a new hell spawn called the Centurion spawn running through a forest. And he is shot in the back by a blast and quickly recovers and turns to charge at the attacker, only to be blasted to the ground again. He goes unconscious, and the attacker is revealed to be an angel named the Forsaken. And we switch to New York. And we see a group of demons and angel leadership meeting. And one of them, named Cordelia, says, "Over 200,000 people descended on Washington this afternoon. While efforts have largely been peaceful, there have been reports of several arrests throughout the day, as some protesters turned violent. This is the latest march that's taken place since Lieutenant Colonel Al Simmons issued his plea several months ago, calling on people around the world to demand greater transparency from its leaders. We need to deal with this, and soon. I'm getting a lot of pushback from some outside clients. We've been letting those that decide to follow Simmons' agenda drive the narrative on this for too long. It's starting to get out of control. The more they march, the more questions the media asks, and none of it is good for business. Maybe before, but we're operating in a different world now. We leave this unchecked, and it'll keep building and building, and then we're fucked. So I don't know about the rest of you, but I had no plans to surrender the life I've built here because a bunch of liberal youths don't like capitalism. But the more they pry, the higher the likelihood some human is going to figure out the truth, even if it is by accident. That's only going to make it harder for us as the war ramps up. We need to be dealing with Spawn. We need to help our position in case the war spills out. Faster than we hoped. We need to find Spawn and convert him to our side. And if we don't, someone else will. The throne of hell isn't going to stay empty indefinitely. And since the time shift, it's going to be a stampede racing for it. And right now, we don't know who will be there first, but it sure as shit can't be Spawn. We can't get anywhere near the throne. It's why we need to convert him. He'll destroy us, otherwise, like he did this week. How many of our kind has he killed? And how do we know the other contenders won't have us strung up as traitors? Whoever takes the throne isn't going to care about continuing the old missions. That'll buy us plenty of time. Ultimately, we're going to have to pick a side. But for now, I don't think there's any rush to pin our flag on anyone's mast. We can be patient and see how things develop. Stay on the sidelines and wait for the contenders to reveal themselves. Once we see a likely winner, that's when we make our decision. We do our job, and we'll have leverage with Spawn on our side. We can offer him as a sacrifice to that winner. That moves us closer to the inner ring. But if you all want to take a shot, be my guest. But you won't get any assistance from me. Because even if you do succeed, all you'll be doing is ensuring a target on your back for the rest of your lives. But if we're one or two steps away from the top, it allows us to repent and change sides. The war can wait. If the humans find out the truth, it doesn't matter who wins. Dealing with Simmons and his movement is the smart play for now. Simmons has told his story to the public. It's time to tell the humans a very different one. And we switch to later, and we see a montage of Spawn taking out various demons while looking for Cog, but always finding no leads on his location. Until finally, someone tells him that an angel named Fregredo may know where to find Cog. Spawn teleports to Ferdago's house and enters to find a bloodbath. He hears a scream and kicks down a door to find Haunt standing over Farago's body. And we switch to an unknown location. We see Cordelia meet with a doctor, and she apologizes for interrupting his work. And he tells her not to worry, and that he has gathered all of the test subjects like she wanted. And they approach an observation window, and we see Centurion spawn, as well as three other Hell spawns, all locked in a room down below her. And that ends this issue. Taking us to our final issue, Spawn number 326. Now, we open in Figueredo's house. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that name, honestly. Hunt lashes out, attacking Spawn, and they trade blows back and forth until Spawn is fed up with him, sorry. Spawn bursts energy out from his whole body, sending Hunt flying backwards, and we see a ghost appear next to Hunt and tell him to calm down. Spawn can see the ghost and asks who he is, and the ghost says, Kurt Kilgore, we met years ago in Guadalajara. You were there with the U.S. security group. Let's calm things down a sec. This is just a misunderstanding. This is my brother Daniel. About a month back, he was poisoned by an assassin posing as his girlfriend. Her name was Lydia. The poison's killing him slowly. We've been trying to track her down to see if there's a cure. We know she's part of a sect of angels, but so far we haven't had any luck finding them. We're trying to figure out why the angels attacked us. All I know is that heaven and hell is out for us because of this suit and the symbol on it. Lydia's group has an elite alliance with Figueroa's crew, and that's why we came to get some answers. We didn't mean to kill him. That wasn't the plan. The poison in me, besides trying to kill me, it's been causing issues with my suit. In the middle of questioning, Figueroa attacked me, and I lost it. And Spawn is pissed that he has lost his lead on COG, and tells them to split up and help him find any information they can in this place. And after looking for a little bit, Kurt finds a strange cube and shows it to Spawn. Spawn says it's a type of communication device, and he should be able to open it back at his base. And he teleports all three of them away. And we switch to a unknown location. We see Cordelia and two others watching the captured Hellspawn fight in a room below them, when the angel, the Forsaken, enters the room and asks why they haven't killed the Hellspawn yet. Cordelia tells him it's not his place to question the Almighty, and Forsaken gets irritated and goes to his chamber. Cordelia returns to the window and points to one of the Hellspawn and says, let's use that one for our first tests. And we switch to Spawn's hideout. Spawn has opened and started to decipher the cube, and he calls for Haunt to come in. Haunt and Kurt enter the computer room, and Spawn says, I think I found out who ordered the attack on you. An agent named Arthur Sylvain. Like Figaro, he's another of Heaven's operatives stuck on Earth. He runs several logistic companies in North America. He and Figaro got their starts as lieutenants working under a crime lord named Simon Provosk. About 5 years ago, the pair staged a coup and divided Provosk's empire between them. They've maintained a close alliance since. The one who poisoned you, she's one of Sylvain's enforcers. Lydia, as I'm sure you've guessed, is just one of a dozen of her identities. And from what I've seen from the data we've grabbed from Figaro's device, it looks like heaven and hell hate you almost as much as they hate me. You'd be a big scalp for either side. Sylvain was probably trying to raise his profile among heaven forces. I saw one of his files detailing a meeting he was having with COG tonight. We should be there. Agreed? Good. He's a former mentor, and I need his help with something. What he's doing with Figaro and Sylvain, don't know, but it can't be good. But if you're going to come along on this, You both follow my lead, understood? There's a room down the hall you can rest in. I'll come get you when it's time to go. And we switch to a warehouse. We see a group of vampire meeting with Cog's second in command, Sylvain. And we learn that the vamps are aggravated with Cog sending someone else instead of coming himself. When Spawn and Haunt melt out of the shadows, and Spawn says, Sylvain, you didn't really think you could trust him, did you? Because he uses everyone until they're no longer useful, then eliminates them. I'm betting he didn't tell you that part. And the vampires snap and attack Sylvain as well as Spawn and Haunt. They charge at them and say, by sending in Spawn and Haunt to spread his lies, then you'll all die and Cog will be next. And that ends this story. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Join us next week as we cover Darth Vader number 18 through 21. Thanks for watching. As always, remember to like, subscribe, and share our video to help spread our brand through the world. Also, leave a comment down below. Feedback is always welcome. Now, you can also find us on the Jabroni Nerd Facebook page, so give us a follow over there as well. So, until next week, guys, keep talking nerdy.